is Leslie Osoyan from Wethersfield Community Television. Tonight is Wednesday, May 18th, 2022, and we have a great show for you tonight. We're going to be learning all about downsizing and everything that means. And we have a couple of special guests tonight. We have Andrew Jambor and we have Steve Anderson of Amston Home Transition Solutions. I got it. And we're going to be learning a lot about what it means to downsize. And I think sometimes we think that it's just for older people, but we're going to learn that it's not. So we're going to start off with Andrew talking about what this is. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. So we're talking about downsizing. It's basically going through, getting rid of anything that it clutters down your life, we call it. These days, objects that are in your life that are just taking up space. You could talk about crowded closets, crowded attics, basements, just things that we've acquired over the years, like all kinds of stuff. Like we just, if you've been in a house longer than a few years, as you grow up, as you have children, you just acquire things, and sometimes they find a home in the basement and they never come out.
Right,
and that's part of downsizing, is going through those things, taking time every few years, taking an inventory of your home, your items, your garages, your spaces, and just trying to go through and see what you still use, what's still valuable, what can be donated to someone who can use that particular item. There's different forms of items too that we could talk about. Things that have a lot of value. It could be something your child did, painting, this and that. It could be something that was handed down from a parent that passed away, or anything else, and you don't know what to do with those items, or it's hard to part with those items.
Right. That's true, because in my basement, I have like 6 bins of stuff for my son from kindergarten to when he graduated high school last year. And I'm like, I want to get rid of these bins. But it's cute. He has a lot of cute stuff in there. But I'm like, what do I do with it? Wait till he moves out? Well, what do people do?
Does he want that? Probably not. and I've been struggling with my son, who's 30, and he has a lot of stuff in our house, and he keeps saying, yeah, I'll be over.
I'll get to it.
So what I've been doing is I text him 3 pictures a day and say, do you want the 1, 2, 3?
Right.
And he'll text me back yes or no.
Okay, that's a good idea.
That's one way to do it, for sure.
You know what they say, though? If you open a closet door and things fall out, then you need to declutter.
It's time to declutter.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
So when you talk about like downsizing and say decluttering, is that typically for a move, or do you do it without them having to move?
It could be either. So a lot of times it could just be, if you're not looking to move somewhere. A lot of times clients who are looking to move, that is a good thing to do, but it's just a general good practice to go through.
Right.
And if you have a closet full of stuff, like we just recently did it at our house. We brought a dumpster in and just said, hey, let's go through. That kind of motivated us in my house to go through and take things and just, hey, we haven't used this in a long time. Yeah. Let's go through the tools in the basement. Let's go through the miscellaneous pantry items and things things that have expired, or things we no longer use, or not, trying to think of like paints and things that you no longer need, right? Things that have just been acquired in the house that you have, I'm going to use it someday. Yeah. Yeah. Let's kind of find a way to, dispose of that, environmental friendly, but also going through tools that can be repurposed and maybe donated to somebody that can use it. Clothing, especially. We all acquire clothes. Yeah. A few years ago, I was like 60, 70 pounds heavier than I am now. I have all these old clothes that I kept that are still good, so we can donate them to somebody that uses them. All that stuff.
Smart. Yeah. Because you got to think about the whole recycling aspect of it, right?
Yes.
And our environment, right?
Absolutely. And even the kids' clothing, how much of that? Like my kids have tons and tons of clothes, and they're teenagers, right? So it's like they just acquire dresses and things that you can imagine that they're never going to use again, and they've only been used a few times. And it's like sometimes it's like, here, give them to someone that can use them. There's ways to do that. There's websites you can use. There's all kinds of ways to give your clothing away. You can consign it, whatever. But it's just kind of taking inventory.
Right. So that's the decluttering part of it, and you do downsizing too. And
yes.
So let's talk about the downsizing.
So the downsizing side is being able to, once you've decided what can go, it's then basically going through tagging items like donate, dispose, keep, and then taking those items out and just kind of freeing up all that space where everything was in place, like just any of those spaces in the garage, big big ticket items, things that take up a lot of space you no longer use. It could be even like we've seen like lawnmowers, things that just don't get used anymore that can go repurpose, and even things that are in the
Can we
basement.
backtrack for just a minute?
Yeah, of
I'm sorry to
course.
cut you off, but so let's just backtrack like a typical call. So you get a phone call and someone looking for your services. And so typically, what are you hearing? Is it people that want to downsize, or is it the decluttering?
It's both.
It is both, okay.
A lot of times when we get a call, someone's moving and they have to move
someone's moving.
soon.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And they have to move soon. Something happened where they're at a point where they need to go to it could be an assisted, it could be anywhere, but they need to be out of the home most of the time. So they have to figure out what they're going to do with their items. And they have collected so many things over the years and years of living there that they don't know where to start. So it's a lot of times we'll get people that call us that are overwhelmed and just anxious because they don't know what to do.
Right. So you go out to the house and then you inspect.
Correct.
And get
We walk through, we take inventory with them, we let them know what's best going to be able to take with them, the things that they should take, what they should go through. We tag things off and kind of work through that process with them.
And can I say something?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
of course.
You know, when they are moving to an assisted living and they have to sell their house, these days the value of the house is high, and as much as they think their stuff is worth a lot, it's really not compared to the value of the home.
Right.
So the quicker they can get rid of all that stuff, the quicker they can sell the house. And it's hard to stress that because you'll have somebody say, well, I got this vase in 1973 from my cousin, and it means a lot to me. And so we like the adult children to get involved because they'll say, Mom, get rid of it.
Right.
Mom, So that's important.
And there's things that it's hard to donate these days, like hutches, things that people want to take that they have still that they don't have as much value as it used to have.
Right.
So when you have these furniture, some people have pianos and hutches and sterling silver and china and just a lot of different things, especially the kitchen is full of different things. We always coach people to look at their kitchen and go through their kitchen because there's so many duplicate things and
stuff.
think about shelves you haven't looked at above the refrigerator. If you have cabinets out of height that you don't go up too often, but they're full of things you haven't looked at in years.
Well, I know this is corny, but Oprah did say if you haven't worn like an outfit or any of your clothing for a year, then you need to ditch it.
It's a great rule.
And I don't know if that applies to like dishes and stuff. I recently culled because my son went to college, and so I've been culling since last September.
Yeah.
And but of course, I didn't want to throw things out. I felt guilty, so I donated or the buy nothing groups online and
free cycles and stuff.
But is it the same for other stuff like dishes and things? If you haven't touched it in a year, serving dishes, bowls, then it's time to get rid of it?
I would look and take inventory of the dish items every few years because for the year on a lot of the stuff, Oprah's dead on with that. Like if you go a year without it, that's one of our rules too. If you haven't seen it in a year and you find something and you haven't used it, then find a home for it. You don't need it. Outside of like maybe some tools that you don't use too often, but we find that the kitchen items, the dishes and things like that, because if you only have a few people in the house now, you're not serving as many people as you used to. You can limit that.
Yeah.
And it puts less stress on your dishwasher and everything else because you're kind of finding a home for that stuff and someone will use it.
It's true.
Like we had stuff from our wedding and gifts from years ago that we still never opened, right? Dishes, like boxes of things that were wedding gifts and things like that. We find them like, well, we never used them, so we can repurpose them.
Yeah, repurposing. That's the good thing to do.
Absolutely. You don't want to throw things out there in good shape.
And then if there's something that you are looking for and you can't find it because it's buried under stuff, you go out and buy a new one.
Yeah.
So now you have two of them.
Yep. So the repurposing, who does that? Is that something that you'll take care of?
Yes. Yeah, we'll help. We can donate it or find a home for it.
Okay.
We provide resources to people too, because some services will come out and take care of those things and pick up things they could use that.
Right.
And that'll do that for you without a cost associated versus having us do it and taking it away. But we would donate it. We'd find a home for those things. And if someone has a specific place they want to bring it, because sometimes like books and things like that can go to libraries and stuff. They'll take them. Or pianos. Sometimes churches will want a piano. So you could put something out on Facebook or somewhere else about we have a piano and we get hits from different places. Or if we have a connection with a church, we'll talk to them. Hey, you guys have a room for a piano or that we can give to you guys or
Right.
donate. Even hospital beds, it's a big one too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so you go to a person's home and you assess, and so do they know specifically that they want you to do the packing for them?
Sometimes.
Or, yeah?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It's a case by case. So
So you go out and you kind of make an assessment and, okay.
And Steve can explain our assessment process. He does quite a few.
Yeah, I do
Oh, okay,
most of
good,
the
Steve.
assessment. So when I go into a house, I sit down with them for the first half hour and just talk
Okay.
and see what their ideas are and try to get an idea of what they want to take with them if they're moving and what they want to donate and what they want to give to family members. And that's the hardest part. Once we get past that and they've resolved themselves to the fact that they've got to let things go, then it goes very fast.
Okay.
So that's my main function, is to get them to say, okay, let's do this and get rid of stuff. Then we can bring in a team that's fast.
Okay.
And they can empty a house in a day.
Okay, so that's like really the downsizing, and then they're moving. So, and then you have a team comes in and they pack everything up, the clothes and everything, the furniture and
Yep.
dishes. Oh, okay. Everything in the cabinets.
Everything in the cabinets.
Wow. Okay, that's great. So they put it in the truck, and then you take it to their next location, or and then you've already established at that point the things that they don't want to take with them, and then you'll make efforts to try to help them dispose of them.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And then a lot of times it could be elderly people that may be downsizing to
Most
going
of
to
the time.
assisted living, or where they may be going.
Most of the time, we will downsize just
Yeah.
about anybody that asks us
Right.
for the help, but it's mostly the elderly that are the ones that
Yeah.
really need the help.
Although I think it's fantastic. Like if I were to move, I've been in my house 21 years. I'd want someone to come in and do all my packing.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we've had situations like
Yeah.
that. We'll come in and we'll help people with packing and just be able to kind of go through their items one-on-one
Yeah.
and say, okay, you want to bring this with you? Do you want to do this? Because people don't like to pack. People don't
Right.
like the whole moving process if you've done it enough times.
I was going to say the old days, like I'm so old, but when you use newspaper and your hands get all black and dirty and you're
Yeah.
stuffing it in your glasses, and I'm like, I think it's just wonderful to have someone come in and do all the packing.
Take care of it for me. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's what we do.
And take
yeah.
it to the next house,
Mm-hmm.
or wherever it's going. So, so you have that interview with the people, and
Yes.
you see where they're at. And I remember you telling me too that it could be some folks who don't have family in the area.
Right.
So that's always a big factor.
Yeah, the adult children could be on the other
Yeah.
side of the country,
Most of the time.
and they
Oh,
can't
okay.
come and spend a month helping them go through it.
Right.
So
Right.
A lot of times the adult children will do it through email or some kind of video chat
Right.
to walk through the house with the parents.
Right.
It really makes a big difference if adult children can get involved.
Yeah. And how long does it take? Usually like a day or a couple days, or
No,
It depends on how much they have, because every house is different, every situation.
Okay.
Some people have a lot of items. You may have a person that just collected so many items and had trouble parting with it over time that
Okay.
we have to go through box by box and item by item. And people collect things as they travel, and they
Yeah.
travel around the world, so they have amazing stories to tell us about the items that they have. And so it can take sometimes someone who knows exactly what they want to keep, what they don't, as we go through it. It could take a couple days. Sometimes it could take like a month, just between.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
small hours every
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
not
yeah.
like
Right.
and like a few days a week, just to keep pace and make sure it's not too overtaxing on anybody.
Right. And in those cases, you have the luxury of time. It
Yes.
sounds like. Yeah.
If you have
Okay.
time and don't have to, it's like someone coming in like, hey, our favorite clients and our favorite people that we work for are people that say, we're going to be looking maybe a year away, 6 months away. So we just want to get started now because we learned this downsizing. We learned how to do it now. We were excited. We know we're going to be doing this. So we want to get people in now just to kind of start working with us, because
Yeah.
this way we're not rushing last minute, because
Exactly.
then when you rush, all of a sudden mistakes
Yeah.
happen too.
And young or old, we find that people usually only have a 4 to 6 hour span where they can go through this.
Focus,
'Cause it can get emotional.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So that's why we usually spread it out over a bunch of days.
Right.
So sometimes we'll even give them 2 or 3 day break,
Yeah.
so they can recuperate and think about what they want to go through next.
Right.
Yeah, or even come in once a week like you're doing with one of our clients right now.
Yeah.
You know, you just give them a week, and they like the pace, and it works out for everybody. They can kind of process.
Now, meaning that the packing has already started?
Yeah, or the downsizing, or the
downsizing.
decluttering has
downsizing,
started.
okay.
Usually we'll start
Got it.
with that decluttering first, just trying to
Okay.
figure out what's going to go, what's not going to go, so we can start that either creating piles in the home for donations so that we get enough to a point where then we can have a team come and pick it up. It's worth everybody's time that way to come down
Right.
and get it, especially if they're living in, a couple hours away
Right.
versus locally, and then, and times we can just help that sort through time. It makes it
Right.
easier for them.
I was talking to someone about this recently, about decluttering. And it was an older woman. She was like 83.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling her I was doing it. My son went to college. And she was saying that, she just, I want to do it, she said, but I can't even start doing it. She's like, I don't even know where to start.
That's the hardest part. Yeah.
That is the hardest part, because you do get attached to your things. I was in the claims business for many years, and the one thing you realize is that people care more about their things than their person.
Yes.
And it's really true. People get so attached to their tangible things, items. And, they could have broken the leg in a car accident, but they care about, oh, it was my, whatever in the back seat. Did you have that? Or, so it's really interesting. So I could see why there could be a struggle, like in getting some movement or having them, detach from things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the value you provide to that process too.
Right. Yeah.
Because sometimes clients will forget too. Like we'll pack something, we'll put it into a storage, and we'll get a call about something that was missing, but we know it's in storage, so
Right.
we'll point them into that direction
Yeah.
to help them kind of remember, because they'll forget that, where is my so-and-so item it meant so much to me, I don't have it now. We're like,
Right.
oh no, we packed it, so you have to be, very methodical and upfront with people when you talk to them, and just transparent, because
Yeah.
And sometimes
Transparency.
they
That's
can't get
big.
rid of a lot of stuff. They just have to keep it, so they will rent a self-storage
Mm-hmm.
unit
Okay.
and keep a lot of stuff in there. And that's part of the downsizing, because sometimes they're not ready to part with something. So
Right.
they'll keep it in the storage unit and then slowly over time go through items.
And we find as we get the items out of the house and into storage or into donating and things like that, the stress level comes way down over time.
Yeah.
Because people are just anxious to begin with, and as they see the process unfold, you can kind of see throughout the whole life cycle
Yeah,
of
that's so
working with
true.
someone, you see them, just the stress just comes off,
Yeah.
and it's amazing how they feel afterwards. Most clients are so impressed, like, I can't believe it went that fast. It took I didn't think it was going to go like that, and they're
Yeah.
just amazed, and they're done.
But it is amazing when you declutter your life, you really declutter up here.
It is.
And so
It's a mental.
it's a freeing
It's
thing.
mindset, and that's the biggest thing I preach when
Yeah.
I talk and give presentations on downsizing to people. And that's the first thing I always talk about, is the mindset part of it.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get to this point? What's holding you back?
Yeah.
Stay focused, stay present. Small tasks, little wins can be big for your brain and for your mind. Just like, where to start, like you mentioned. How do you start here? Start with one room. Start with a piece of a closet, a rack. It could be something that you work on for maybe 15 minutes that day, and then
Yeah.
feel proud that you did it and reward yourself afterwards
Yeah.
to say, hey, I did this and I can do this, to get the
Right.
confidence built up. And that's a big thing, is just mind holds you down.
I was going to ask you, do you keep like inventory of what you've taken or put in the storage facility? Or because when you said that someone called, you knew where their item was
Yes.
specifically, so you
Yeah.
keep inventory
Yeah,
of all
you
that.
have to keep track
okay.
of things, because we label the boxes that we pack things into, and we make sure we'll have a spreadsheet if we need to, or something, a list of some sort, because
Okay.
we've had enough situations come up where
Yeah.
someone couldn't find something, and we're
Right.
like, well, we learn as we go too with these things, and so we're like, okay, we got to take a better list of an inventory. So now
Right,
we've
right.
gotten to the point where we track things, and then we know, okay, yep, this is in storage, or this
Okay.
was put in your home somewhere, and you're bound to find it here.
Automated?
Automated? No, we're still like, writing it down, keeping
Yeah,
track
yeah,
in a spreadsheet. Digital that way, but not
Right, yeah.
not barcoded or anything.
Oh yeah, no. I meant
Not yet. It's a good idea though.
right? Wouldn't that be? Although maybe a little cumbersome, but
Yeah.
There is another one we worked on that I just got reminded of. When I first walked in, she was so overwhelmed, but she had made piles, donate, take with her, throw out, but she was so upset about the whole thing, and we just took all the stress off of her. When I left that day, she goes, I can't believe you're going to do all this for me, because
Yeah.
I physically can't do it.
Yep.
And
And then you're going to keep track of everything that she has.
Yes.
So there's that inventory list, which that's awesome.
It's
That's really good.
reassuring for people.
It is
and-
reassuring, yeah.
And like Steve was talking about too, like the physical tasks become hard. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
one of the things we notice. That's why we do a few hours at a time, because it can only do so much before you get exhausted
Right.
and before they get tired enough where they can't keep thinking and processing it for the
Right.
day.
So let's talk about where you do this. Is it just in Connecticut?
Yeah, we're basically in Connecticut right now, and that's what we've been doing. We're all over the Connecticut. We've done some stuff out of New Jersey, New York, but mostly we stay around here.
Right, okay. So when you take the truck, it's going to another location in Connecticut?
Yes.
Oh, okay, got it,
Yeah.
okay.
well, sometimes there are adult children that live in the Hartford area or New Haven area, but mom or dad live in another state,
Okay,
and they need to go into assisted living. So the adult children will say, "Come on down here," and we'll go up and get them and bring them down to the Hartford area to where
Oh,
they
I
get
see.
their new home. So we do some stuff out of state.
right, okay. So do you want to talk about, or I think we should talk about your presentations that you do offer that to small businesses,
Yep,
right?
Yep. Senior centers,
Yeah.
small businesses, real estate agents we've done it for. So we do them for a lot of places, assisted livings, communities, anywhere we can educate someone on downsizing, where we
Right,
can
right,
get in front of a good crowd and just teach them some basic principles of how to formulate a plan, how to get started, how to, what to tackle first, how to go through things, and just to get your mind right in processing, start thinking about these things now.
Right. So if someone needed help just decluttering,
Mm-hmm.
a younger person, not necessarily an elderly person, that's something you do. You'd
Yeah.
come out and help them. Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that's really great.
Yeah, we get them focused on how to go through, because
Yeah.
any age it can be a difficult situation just because they're not sure what to do, what to get started
Right.
with, or hard to part with.
Hard to part with. That's the thing. You do collect so much stuff over the years. And I used to tag sale, and I'd pick things up. I mean, sometimes you just get like this high from a shopping or something, just to get something new. But then it just sits there, and it's in your kitchen, and you just have more stuff. So it's awesome that you offer these services.
Yeah.
That's really great. I mean, you hear about it on TV, but it's like I never met someone who actually has that business, and I think it's really wonderful.
I told my wife, for everything she brings into the house, she has to part with 2 things.
Right? Oh, that makes sense.
It doesn't always work.
Doesn't
but
always work. And I just want to show this brochure too.
Sure.
So there's information. Can we have some here at the community television in case anyone's interested?
Of course.
Because our senior center is right down here, a few doors down from us. So anyone that wants to stop in, they can get a brochure and learn a little bit more. And your info's on here. And
Yep.
if you want to just give a shout out to your email, you could do email or website or your phone number.
Our website is guidingthemove.com, and our phone number is 203-678-9728. And that's the best way to reach us. Leave us a message, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, and set up an appointment if needed, and go from there.
Now, when you come out for the first time, is there a fee?
No,
No, okay, so it's a free consultation then
Yep.
for you to come out and
Yep.
talk with them.
we
And
spend about an hour with everybody if we can,
Okay.
and maybe sometimes longer depending on what's needed.
right,
Because every situation you walk into is different, and you may walk into someone's home with a plan in mind after you've talked to them initially, but then you find as you're talking to them they need other things as well, and you kind of go into
Right.
it could be just decluttering. It could turn into, well, if you guys take donations away, yes, we'll do that. Yes, we'd like to, we could help you with all these different things. Can you ship this to my brother in another state? Yes, we can work
Oh,
that
okay.
out. So
Okay.
every situation, we're kind of like
Right, right.
problem solvers. We
Right,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
become that, that reference and resource from.
But you were showing me that you have a list of resources too. Like what is that kind of?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
those kind of resources
these
for?
resources are for downsizing specifically.
Oh, for
Like,
downsizing, okay.
Yeah, like when we do presentations, we'll hand out these resources afterwards. Just they're different places that you can use throughout Connecticut, different services that some of them deal with homeless veterans and things like that for good causes. Homeless people that can repurpose furniture, take items,
great.
and it goes to good families that need help. And there's also resources for things if you have books. A lot of people we deal with have textbooks, things of that value. There's websites you can go to get the value of those books if you want it, or we can donate those books somewhere that could use them. And then there are antiques as well. If you have china, sterling silver, anything like that, there's sites out there that will take it, resell it.
Right.
So there's marketplaces for these things. There's resources people can use, on their own to go research.
Absolutely. So avoiding trying to put things in the landfill.
Yes, basically finding a home for it.
Yeah, finding a home for it.
Like for the younger generation, Free Cycle's great for that. We do that a lot.
Yeah.
Even Facebook Marketplace, those things we've done for people in the past, but even people in general put things up there and they go pretty quickly for people.
What about those Buy Nothing groups? Have you heard about those? The Buy Nothing?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a Buy Nothing campaign or something, but...
Yeah, they have the Buy Nothing campaigns out there too. That's another resource that you can use to pass things out and give, donate to people that could repurpose them.
So you're trying to help people.
Yes, basically.
In many ways. I mean, because we talked earlier before we started the show that there's an emotional aspect to it.
Huge.
As well. And is that emotional attachment to things and
clutter and it creates
yeah.
stress. If you don't realize how much stress clutter creates until you walk into a situation where, like, you walk into a space and you feel off, your energy's off. I'm big on energy, positive, negative vibes, all that fun stuff. But when you walk into a crowded room or space that has a lot of items sitting there, and especially if they're disorganized, it's like it can create just that feeling of anxiety or the cost it can add to somebody. I mean, how many people have a junk drawer in their home? We all have junk drawers. And how many times do you buy something that you think you didn't have, and then you find out later it's there in the drawer? So it costs money. It costs
so true.
And psychological effects on people around you. Because if you're feeling negative, you pass that to somebody else in the house. Now they're feeling negative. So it creates an environment of stress that you don't realize. It's almost like a silent stress.
Yeah. I don't like clutter. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
And my son, oh my God, I mean, he makes such a mess.
The room or whatever, right? Yeah, you go upstairs and things are a mess. Like my daughter's the same way sometimes. Like, hey, clean up your stuff, organize your room. That kind of stuff. You'd be so surprised when something's cleaned out and you walk into an empty room it's all organized. You're like, wow, that feels great.
I always feel so good.
It's amazing.
I just want to make it clear because you see so many shows on TV about hoarding. We're not talking about hoarding here.
No.
We're really just talking about not that they're not normal, but just normal everyday people who just maybe downsizing, maybe elderly, maybe having to move, go to assisted living, or maybe a couple who just doesn't want to do their own packing, or
that's right.
Yeah, which I love. People who just want help decluttering. So, just to make it clear, there's no undertones of hoarding or anything like that.
No, not at all. I mean, we've come across situations like that, but you see all the spectrums of people, in different sets. But yeah, this isn't just about that situation. That's pretty rare cases, but most of the time, it's just people just need to kind of go through their items and just. Right. Kind of just part ways with some of them they haven't used in a long time, and you'd be surprised how good you feel when that's done.
And they need help.
Yes.
And they need help, and so they call you. So how did it all come about? How did you start?
So we actually started years ago in real estate. We would buy property, we'd fix it. We have a lot of crew with us that does construction, things like that. We were approached by Masonic Hair in Wallingford, and they asked us if we would. Could we take on a house from someone if they needed to move into assisted living, but that was holding them up? And we said, yeah, we could do that. They asked us if we could also maybe pack and move a couple of clients that they had because they were having some issues taking the first step because they were overwhelmed. Yeah. And we said, yeah, we would love to try it. We're open to this. Why not? Yeah. We're open to trying things out. So our first client was someone who lived in their house they were born in their house and their family lived in the house. And had been there for years and years, and now he was legally blind, living in his house, so he knew it so well that he could walk up around the house, knew the layout, so he would never get in any kind of trouble. And we helped basically, fix the house up, get it on the market, go through his items with him, make sure he was taking things that were safe for him to use. Made sure the new environment he was going into was staged properly to make sure there was no tripping hazards. There was no issues with him because he had a vision issue, and making sure he was and even came down to, hey, we'll get your groceries for you, helped him out as far as just, we knew he was, needed some assistance there. So we worked that process. It took a few months because just time every day, a little bit at a time. And we eventually got things donated, moved, sold for him. And then we moved him in and he was doing great. And it just takes a whole stress load off.
Right, right.
That another client was going to move into Masonic with his wife. His wife unfortunately had passed away before that. They had the brochures. He got really depressed, and at that point we went in and when we first met him, he was just so overwhelmed. I don't know how to start. I don't know what to do. He collected a bunch of trains. He was a great guy, and had all these things throughout his house stuffed in all these little nooks and crannies. So we sat down, we started working with him with all the different items. We'd bring things to him. Hey, this is what this is. Would you want to go? Do you want to keep this? Do you want to part with it? And he had storage, all these things. And we worked with him slowly and eventually moved him in within a few months. And he couldn't for years stop talking about how couldn't believe that happened, how quick that experience went, and how much he appreciated everything that was done and how easier it was than he ever thought it was.
Right. And the house top to bottom you'll take care of?
Yes. Everything that's
Garage
involved.
And
yep.
everything. Okay.
So anything throughout the house.
The size of the house, does that matter?
No.
5,000 square feet,
Yeah, we've done all kinds of sizes.
So no limit.
Yeah.
No limit, okay. That's great. So why don't we tell the folks again your phone number and
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
the name of the business again is Anston Home Transition Solutions.
Yep, that's the name, and the number is 203-678-9728.
And I love the website name, guidingthemove.com. That's great, Guiding the Move. That's a really great name. So anything else, Steve, you want to add? Any final story?
Well,
good one?
I think we talked a little bit about hazards in the house.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Things like if you're elderly and using a walker, area rugs, wood floors, and walkers don't mix.
Makes sense.
And some houses have thicker thresholds from room to room, so you have to be careful.
Yeah.
That's a tripping hazard.
Right.
So we always try to look for those when we go into a house.
So you go through all of it. You dot the I's and cross the T's, and that's wonderful.
You basically become family with people, because especially when a lot of, like, our first two that we worked with were alone. They didn't have family, any relatives, no one nearby.
Right.
But even people that have family far away, we become that intermediary, because we've had situations where we're the buffer between the family and the client, because sometimes it gets a little heated. There's discussions of what to keep, what you should take, because it's just
I can see that.
some people don't want to take directions from their kids at a certain point, and that happens,
Yep.
So you kind of become that family person, but you look out for them. You make sure that they're, do they need something, even if it's something that we don't always do, like, hey, do you need groceries? Do you need something in the house done?
Right.
We'll check on things for them to make sure that everything, just to always be there as needed, to help solve problems.
That reminds me of a story. We did move somebody from one place to another, and the family member was going to get a mattress. So we brought the bed and the frame and set it up, and he was in his 90s and she was in her upper 80s, and the family member didn't bring the mattress. So there we were at the end of the day, and he goes, we'll just sleep on the floor. So the lead on the job from our company says, you're not sleeping on the floor. Mm-hmm. Called one of our vendors and had a mattress delivered right away.
Fantastic.
So they could sleep in a bed, because he said, I cannot go home knowing that this 90-year-old man is going to sleep on the wood floor. Right. So that's when he said family, that's what we do.
But that's the mindset coming from the top.
Yeah.
So that's really great. So you and your partners, and you're really giving them the right message, your team, and taking care of people.
Yeah, and that's what
taking care of people.
And that's what we
people first,
talk about all the time. People first, and that's what we tell
then
all
money,
of our guys.
then things.
Yes, we
Have you
tell
ever
all
heard
of our
that?
guys, provide the most value you can.
And
that's why, as Steve talked about, it's all about that process. Put the customer's needs in front of yours, and put yourself in their shoes as to what kind of things they may come across, what problems they might have, and and try to be there to solve them as soon as possible.
Yeah.
You know?
Empathy and compassion, right?
Huge.
Although we're living in tough times. So to have that empathy and compassion, I had a great experience with an AC guy today. And I was like, great experience. So that goes a long way too.
It
Great
does.
experience. So people that have great experiences with your company, then, you get more calls, you know?
And we
And-
provide that as much as we
Yeah.
can. It's the
Yeah.
experience to us. I mean, the calls are secondary. Sure, it's good to have business, but at the same time, if you're helping someone like that, I think that just means a lot more to us as a team.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just
Yeah.
to see them come and hear about it, even still get people talking about how they enjoyed our services and rave, and
Yeah.
just even now, and it's been
Yeah.
years, and it's like, oh, okay, it's great.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
We're doing a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
we had one more quick one was we had a story recently with a client that we moved her husband into Masonic care, was memory care, and he had passed away, and she was very distraught, and we moved this stuff out, we took care of her, and we sent her an arrangement afterwards, and here, we're sorry, edible arrangement, say, hey,
Yeah.
sincerest apologies, we know,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. And she was like, oh my
Right.
God. I'm like, this is what we do, It's like we
People
make sure
first.
people are taken care of,
Yeah.
Like Steve's wife does pet portraits. And one of the things that we do with clients, if they have a pet, and we notice that, or it has some meaning of that nature, we go out there and we'll take a picture of the pet and we'll have her put together like a housewarming gift.
Yeah.
We're trying to do stuff like the little things like
Right.
that, make a difference in
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And the edible arrangements I love.
Yeah, we try to think of things that
Yeah.
we could do to kind of make it a little bit easier on someone if they're
Right.
going through a tough time, or even to do for housewarming gifts. We try to find out what they're interested in while we're with them, and a lot of times most our clients have different pets and stuff, so it works out really well.
Yeah. So do you move the pets too?
Not usually.
No?
They usually will bring their pets with
Yeah,
them,
okay.
or they'll be able to handle that part of it. So
Yeah. So it's like a person.
yeah, basically
person.
it is a person.
So I
It's a
just
companion,
Yeah, your companion. So as we wrap up, I just want to mention that Andrew will do presentations all about this if you're interested, but check our website, WCTV14.com, and we're going to have this video up pretty quickly within the next week and on our Facebook page. The number again, Andrew, you want to say
Yeah,
that?
sure. It's 203-678-9728.
So downsizing, moving, packing, decluttering, and more. So it's Amston Home Transition Solutions. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon. Good night.